Hey gang, it's James coming on. I'm stopped for the day, so I figured I'd get in a quick live stream before I go to sleep because I'm hitting the road again at 2 tonight. So, something that's been bothering me, and I can't believe I haven't talked about this, at least that I can remember. It's been bugging me for literally weeks, and I keep meaning to come on and talk about it, and I don't think I have. So I'm going to today because I have to get it out of my system and off my chest. This video is going to be geared towards those in the Hebrew Roots Messianic Torah thing. If that's not you, you really don't have any reason to watch this unless you just like to see this and hear the voice, which is cool, you know. Anyway, so this is kind of more just in-house, you know, for the Torah thing. I've been seeing for weeks online, and I've been talking to people in person, and let me just approach this from two angles, okay? Two angles. First angle is inevitably someone who, you know, within the 1, 2, 3, 4 years of transitioning into keeping the Father's commandments, you know, in conversation, phrases will come up, like when I came to Torah, okay? It's like, okay, I understand what you mean by that. The same people, and I say people, it's plural, it's a great many, we're talking weeks and months here, will interchangeably use the phrase, when I came to faith. And this troubles me, because when you say that, when you put an equal sign between when I came to faith and when I came to Torah, what you're saying is that back before you came to Torah, you didn't have faith. Or you weren't in the faith, or however you want to parse it. Alright? For me personally, okay, I was born and raised in the Christian church. I had faith. I believed. Okay? I lived my life according to the knowledge I had at that point in my life. As a young man in my early 20s, I gained more knowledge. I read my Bible cover to cover and saw that there were things in there that weren't being taught in the mainstream Christian church. Like, the Sabbath is forever between Yahweh and his people. The name of Yahweh. Oh, you mean God has a name? Really? Oh, you know, go figure, right? Things like this. And I began to walk it. Now, did I come to faith at that point? No. All I did at that point was take the faith that I already had, apply some knowledge that I gained, and go forward in my walk. And so, that I realize for a lot of people that might seem like semantics. It might seem like something small. But when you're looking at all of our brothers and sisters out there in mainstream Christianity, and we use phrases like that, what we're really saying in-house is, look at those tax collectors out there. They don't have the Torah. They're not in the faith. We may not mean it. We may not think of it that way. We might have good intentions. But functionally, that's what we're saying. And it ought not to be so. Our friends, our family, our loved ones out there in the world, even people we don't know, in the mainstream Christian church, have faith. They believe. Okay? Are they acting in the full sum of what that faith can be? No. But that doesn't mean that they don't have it. It doesn't mean they're not on the path. And when we frame it in terms like this, we really get into this us versus them mentality. And so the second aspect of this that I've seen, I just kicked my leg up on the cooler. I'm getting real casual here. This is like a fireside chat. So, the other end of this is, and I've been guilty of this. I have been guilty of this. You know, when I first became a volunteer Facebook preacher back in 2017, late 2016, early 2017, you know, when I graduated from Facebook Volunteer Seminary and got my preaching certificate and started talking online, all right? That's not a real thing, at least not that I know of, but anyway. You know, back then, I had this same mentality, you know? And I would come on, and I would try to put information out there, because my whole thing is, like, look, I've said this a million times. I am not opposed to Christians as people. What I am opposed to are theological systems that lead people away from the truth. Christianity is one of them. Christianity has nuggets of truth within it, but it also has a great deal of falsehood within it. Judaism is the same way. And right now, if we're honest with ourselves, because we're talking in-house, the Torah group is the same thing. We have a great deal of truth and we have a great deal of falsehoods because we're still a bunch of toddlers learning how to walk in this thing. Okay? So, when we talk about, for example, I would come on and I would try to call attention to the needs, to repent and, defining what that is. But I was always snarky about it. And my tone always came across as accusatory. Like, look at those Christians. They just don't get it. What a bunch of morons, right? That's what my tone said, even if my words didn't. And literally within the span of a week, I had, I forget how many. It was anywhere between 3 to 5 brothers online, all independently. They come to me in my inbox, private messaging me like James, dial it back. Dial it back. You're not helping. You're not bearing fruit. This is not going to be helpful. People don't want to listen when you're tearing them down and basically setting up an ad hominem attack. I heeded that counsel. I listened to that counsel. I completely changed my tone. And that's when the fruit started to come. I don't frame things anymore in terms of, Hebrew roots, Torah versus Christians. I don't. Because we're all on the same team. I've said this a million times, and I'll say it a million times more. I will walk with anybody who is walking in the direction of truth. Okay? I have people in my circle who are on all different calendars, biblical calendars, right, in quotes. I have people in my circle, that are in different mainstream Christian denominations. I've got people in my circle that swing a little bit more towards the Jewish tradition, aspect of things that I'm comfortable with. I've got people in my circles who have rejected the New Testament. And I know full well that with that last one, there's an expectation that, you just don't have anything to do with those people. But I know these people. Okay? I by and large, most people who make that choice do it based on ration and intellect. They don't do it out of a rebellious spirit. Okay? If someone makes that decision based on what they see in the text, for whatever reason, they can't harmonize Paul's letters, whatever, they're on a journey. Okay? If I feel like they are still moving forward on their journey, I will still walk with that person. Now, if they take that stance and they're kind of rebellious and militant about it, not so much. Okay? But my point with all this is that, and again, this is meant to be in-house to the Torah people. We've got to stop framing it as us versus them, us versus Christians. If we want to have conversations in-house, where we talk about the distinctions between the two, and we talk about, I'm all for exposing errors in doctrine within Christian theology. And I think that there's a place and a time to do that publicly. Otherwise, I wouldn't be on here doing it on Facebook. But my issue is that when we cross the line into making it an attack of the theology, and we go attacking the people and their character, calling brothers and sisters lawless and calling them heathen. I've seen that. Calling brothers and sisters heathen because they don't keep the Sabbath. Well, if that's the case, I was a heathen once. And so are the people saying that. I remember a real clear illustration of this and how people can do this. Scott Shube, okay? My heart still breaks that we lost this brother. He's an example of a person that threw out the New Testament and got bitter. I mean, I check in on his YouTube every now and then. This is a bitter, bitter man. I feel bad for the gentleman. But I used to follow his channel, and I used to really enjoy his teachings. You know, he was teaching, let's keep Sabbath, let's keep the feast, typical Torah stuff, right? He even wrote a book and published it called Exit Babylon. Okay? And then, I'm not kidding, within a 6-week span, almost overnight, he flips a switch, and all of a sudden, the New Testament's bogus, there is no Messiah. You guys that, follow Jesus and all that stuff, you guys are Yeshua, because, Hebrew roots, you guys are all a bunch of morons. What a bunch of idiots. And it's like, really? All the stuff that you're saying about these people was you 6 weeks ago. And that's my point. So many of the people I see in this Hebrew roots Torah thing do the same type thing with their brothers and sisters in Christianity. It's, they're lawless. And I'm guilty of this. I have framed it in this way in the past. So I'm not sitting up here on some high horse, on some holier-than-thou pedestal, looking down at everybody. No, I've been wallowing in this mire too. But we are not on the judgment seat of Christ. It is not our place to judge another person's walk. Yes, we can look at their fruit and we can judge their fruit. If we're looking at that and doing the eyeball test on the fruit, most of our Christian brothers and sisters out there are making us look bad. Because, we have a problem in this Torah thing where we get all, obsessed with knowledge and we almost worship it. We're turning Gnostic in a lot of cases. That's our pursuit. And we left behind our first love, which should have been, love our neighbor as ourselves, right? Kind of hard to do when we're calling our neighbors names and demeaning them because they're not where we're at right now. It's crazy. It's crazy. There's so much pride and hubris out there. And it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see it in other people, and it breaks my heart to know that that was me. Some of you that have been with me long enough remember those days. You guys remember some of the stuff. You can't see it now because when COVID happened, well, you might be able to. When COVID happened, I was one of the guys out there, speaking freely. I never self-censored on the COVID thing, and for some reason, I never got thrown in Facebook jail. It's a mystery to me to this day. I don't understand. But, to keep my employers from seeing certain things, I would take it off public and put it on friends, right? So if you're on my friends list and you're not restricted, you can go back and you can see, if you go back all the way to 2017, if you're able to, you can see what I'm talking about. There's a shift in tone somewhere along the line. And so, my advice, my counsel, my admonition, whatever you want to call it, in-house on this Torah thing, our brothers and sisters out there in mainstream Christianity are not the enemy. They're not the devil. They're on the same journey we're at. They're just in an earlier spot. And instead of looking down on them in judgment, we should be looking down on them like a mirror, like, wow, that's me 10 years ago. And if we can do that, compassion should be instant, right? We're supposed to model our Messiah. We have numerous scriptures where he looked upon the people and felt compassion. Were they where he was at spiritually? No. Were they where he was at in their Torah observant walk? No. Was he out there condemning them and calling them lawless and heathen? No. When he used harsh words, it was against the leadership. It was always against the shepherds that knew better, never against the sheep. And we have so many people in this Torah walk, and I get it. You're 1, 2, 3, 4 years in. You're full of fire. You're full of zeal. You know, you've got this. You know, you really are. You know, being given a greater measure of the Spirit, because we're told that will happen so that we can walk in the commandments. And so I get that. And you want to help people along, but condemning people is not helping them along. It's not. This whole thing just ought not to be. It just shouldn't be. So if you're watching this, and again, this is meant to be in-house, Messianic Torah, Hebrew roots, the next time you want to go on Facebook and post something about Christians or about Christianity, hop in your DeLorean, hit 80 miles or 88 miles an hour, go back in time to before you came to the faith. See what you look like. Say those same things to yourself that you're getting ready to keyboard warrior type on Facebook for those poor Christian heathen out there. Anyway, I had to get that off my chest. It's driving me nuts. It's driving me nuts. We're hindering and not helping. So I'm going to lay down and go to sleep because I got to start driving again at 2 in the morning. So I love you guys as always. Thank you for tuning in. And as always, Yahweh bless.